Hi there, this is Jeanette Comerford, and this is my Christmas series for 2018. Today's card features a stamp set from Mama Elephant called Santa's Sleigh. And when I first saw the stamp set, I immediately thought of a night sky scene with Santa. But then I thought it would be really cool to create a scene where Santa's just coming back. So it's dawn, the sky is pink, and the little reindeers are coming to welcome him home. I definitely will be creating a night scene with this set, but for today I'm going to share with you how I created this one. I have a piece of light pink cardstock here, and I am very softly sponging on some abandoned coral distress ink. So I'm blending from the top and then very, very lightly blending in towards the center. Again, a very light hand was used here to get a nice diffuse look. Going to clean off my mat there, make sure that I don't have any of that pink ink on it. I'm going to be using this die set. This is from Mama Elephant, and it has a beautiful sort of snow-cap mountain. Here you can see the mountain and then the snow caps. I'm going to die cut that all. I'm going to just cut out the mountain. I made it quite wide, like widthwise, because I wanted to make sure that it covered enough of the card. I'm also going to create some snow drifts. I am using the Mama Elephant landscape dies here. I'm going to cut those out. And then I'll just trim everything to measure 5.5. So I decided where I wanted to trim the mountains. I'll cut off one edge and then trim that up to measure 5.5 across. And I liked the width, or like how high it went up on the card, so I didn't trim that down. I trimmed down the little snowbanks here so everything matches. Now I'm going to take some Distress Oxide in cracked pistachio and lightly sponge that onto the snowbanks and onto the mountains. And that is why I made sure that my mat was really nice and clean, because I didn't want any of that pink ink to transfer and sort of ruin the effect. I'm also going to sponge a little bit of that on the top of each of the snow caps. I'm going to clean the mat again, and then I'm going to put some of this Nouveau glitter drops, I think it's called. This is in White Blizzard. And I'm just going to cover the snow caps really, really generously. I really want them to be like quite thick. So it will take a while to dry. So after I sort of got them all covered with the glitter, I put them aside to dry for quite a while. I actually left and did my groceries and came back. So now I'm taking out that foam mat from my MISTI, because I have a cling stamp here. I believe this is from My Favorite Things, but I will link it at the bottom of this video. And I'm just going to go over it with the anti-static powder here and ink up all those cute little dots with some Versamark and press it down. I didn't concern myself with the very bottom of the card because that will be all covered up with the snowbanks. Just sprinkle on some embossing powder here and make sure everything is nicely covered, and then I'll take it to the side to heat set it. So now I have all the components for my background, so I'll start putting everything together. And you can see how those colors really complement each other. I'm really happy that I went with the cracked pistachio. Generally, when I'm doing snow, I'll go with tumbled glass, but I really like the pink and the aqua color here. I'd already started coloring my Santa and realized that I wasn't filming, but the red colors that I used are the same ones that I'm using here for the sled. So your usual sort of red colors, and then I have this yellow-green color, this very dark yellow-green color. And it may be surprising, but that's what I use to add the shadows to my red, and it gives the red a really nice deep shadow. I really love how this looks. So the coloring for the hat And his suit was done with the exact same markers. And you can see I'm going over it quite a bit to make sure it's nicely blended. I'm going to just stroke on a little bit of warm gray for his beard and then just slightly smooth that out with my colorless blender. For his fur trim, I'm just dotting on some cool gray markers, C3 and C1, just to give that sort of textured look. I'm going to color the, I guess, the side or the top of his sled in a little bit of gold here. I think that looks really nice, especially with the nice deep rich red. This rich gold looks beautiful. I'm a little bit out of screen there, apologize for that. And I'll just add the same colors here for the runners of his sled. Next, I'll color his little sack of toys, or whatever toys I guess that were left after his Christmas run. And you can see how cute that little dog is as well. I really love that little dog that's sitting on top of the sack. So I just colored that in nicely. I will go ahead and color the patch and his little mittens with green. A nice little pop of color against the red and yellow. For the little puppy dog, I'm coloring him with some cool grays. You could also, I think, draw in maybe some little patches on him, little spots. That would look really cute as well. Or turn him into like a Dalmatian maybe. Lots of different ways of coloring. I'll just do the presents really, really quickly, not using any shading, just coloring with one marker color. Next, I will work on the reindeer. So I'm coloring all of the reindeers with the same marker colors. I would say that I do use a little bit more of the darker color, the darkest color for the older reindeer, this one here. So I will put a little bit more of this marker, as opposed to when I color up the other little reindeer, I'll be using less of this color just to make them a little bit lighter. But you can see I'm using all the earth tones for the reindeer, and they're very close in color, so they blend beautifully. Just trying to add some shadows here and give his body a little bit of definition. This was such a fun card to work on because I really loved the scene that I was creating. I really think it's so cute. Those little reindeer look so joyful and so happy, and they just remind me of little kids when they get so excited when somebody comes home. I'm going to color his nose red. Why don't we make this Rudolph? And then his antlers, I'll be using some earth tones, but these ones are the E40 series, and they're more taupey in color, and I like that they're a little bit different from the body. I'm going to color up this little reindeer now, and again, like I said, I won't be using very much of that dark color, just a little bit to add some shadows. And this little reindeer is the way I colored the other two as well. I think I did maybe change the bow color on one of them to green, but otherwise they were all colored in the exact same manner. You could for sure color them in different color palettes to switch things up. Going to work on the sign now. It's a really cute little sign. I'm just drawing a little bit of gray along the edges to give the illusion of some shadow. I'm going to color the pole in red and the knob in red as well. I'll go ahead and just add a little bit of gray, and you're going to see, I left this in here, I accidentally must have touched a little bit of red with my colorless blender, and you can see it sort of spread a little bit there in the middle. So what I did is I ended up going a little bit darker with the sign than I had intended and sort of tried to blend that red away. You have to be careful with reds, they really transfer easily. So once everything was all colored up, I'm going to go ahead and die cut everything. I like to sort of adhere everything right on top of the plate and the magnetic plate underneath that, just so that everything stays really nicely in place. So I'll cut all those out, and then I'll have to cut the extra 2 reindeer out individually. And you're going to see a little trick that I use to make that go a little bit faster. I take what was already die cut. You can see I have the negative from what was already die cut. I position that right over the stamped image, and then I can pop the die in place and then cut. And you can see that's a lot faster than trying to really wiggle it over and like really align everything. This is a much faster way of doing it. So now that those snow caps are completely dry, I'm going to glue them on. I really love how that turned out. This Nouveau glitter is amazing. I never thought I would like something better than Stickles. I've been using Stickles for so long, but I really love this stuff. And I think it really makes a big difference. I'm going to get those on, make sure I've got the right snow caps on the right peaks. And I'm going to start adhering everything down. So I want to have those little reindeer sort of running alongside the sled. And I don't want them to line up like perfectly even. I want to move them around so it looks a bit more natural. First I'll put the little Rudolph reindeer down, and then these little guys, and I'll line up that last one on the edge here, so then when I pop in the sled I can make sure it's evenly placed between those two. And then I can pop that third little reindeer in, and you can see I sort of switch him up a little bit so he's not exactly the same as the other ones. I added a tiny bit of that White Blizzard glitter drop to his eyeglass and to Rudolph's nose. Not enough to make it raised, but just to give a little bit of gloss. I stamped the Merry Christmas, which I found in the Mama Elephant little agenda stamp set, right onto that sign, and I stamped it in red so it sort of masks the little error I made. Then I will add some of the White Blizzard to the icicles. And then the final thing was, when I looked at this, in the stamp set they don't have like a image or a die for the reins, but it's pretty obvious that he's holding reins in his hand. So I just found a little bit of gold wire, and I'm just going to adhere that underneath the Santa mittens, and then right up against where it would sit on his collar. And I'll just place something heavy on that so that it stays down while it dries. And I still didn't feel like it was secure enough. I tried adding a little bit more of this glue, but one of the wires didn't stay put. So I ended up using just a very small micro dot glue dot, and I put that underneath, and that held everything down nicely. And then I took just a little bit of the gold, the honey gold glitter drops, added a little bead of that so that it looks like it's a link attached to his collar. And then my card was all done. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed seeing me create this card. There will be more videos in this series, so please subscribe, and you will find all the product links and information below this video in the description box on YouTube, or you can check out my blog. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Here are some other videos that you might be interested in watching.